Alexander Reynolds stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Manhattan office, watching the city glitter below as dusk settled over New York. At 42, he had everything money could buy: the penthouse on Fifth Avenue, the summer home in the Hamptons, the private jet and Horizon Technologies, the software company he'd built from nothing into a billion-dollar enterprise. "Mr. Reynolds, the board meeting is set for Thursday at 2 p.m. and your mother called about Sunday dinner," his assistant said from the doorway. Alex nodded without turning. "Thanks, Diane. Could you have the car brought around? I think I'm done for today." Alone again, he sighed. Success had come at a price. 2 failed marriages. The first to his college sweetheart who couldn't adapt to his demanding schedule. The second to a model who'd been more interested in his bank account than his company. Years of 70-hour work weeks had left little time for meaningful relationships. His mother's persistent questions about grandchildren had become a running joke between them, though the humor had long faded for both. His phone buzzed. A text from Kevin, his younger brother. "Dinner tonight, bring in someone you should meet." Alex texted back, "Not in the mood. Rain check?" Kevin's response was immediate. "Absolutely not. Be there or I'll have Mom call you." "Every hour for a week," Alex chuckled. His brother knew his weaknesses all too well. "Fine, where?" "Elliot's, 8 p.m. Wear something that doesn't scream, 'I'm worth billions and haven't slept properly in a decade.'" In the elevator down to the garage, Alex loosened his tie. Kevin's matchmaking attempts were usually disasters, but his brother remained undeterred. Maybe tonight would be different, but Alex doubted it. The city had no shortage of people eager to marry into money, and he'd developed a sixth sense for detecting them. What he truly wanted, what he'd nearly given up on finding, was someone who would have wanted him even if he was still the struggling programmer working out of a garage in Queens. Someone who saw past Alexander Reynolds, CEO of Horizon Technologies, to just Alex, the guy who still ate Fruit Loops straight from the box when no one was watching. Chapter 2. Unexpected Connections. Elliot's was packed when Alex arrived. The upscale steakhouse humming with conversation and clinking glasses. He spotted Kevin waving from a corner booth, his brother's familiar grin visible across the room. "You're late," Kevin said, standing to clap him on the shoulder. "I'm the CEO. I'm not late. Everyone else is early," Alex replied with the familiar joke between them. "Alex, this is Mia Laurent," Kevin gestured to the woman sitting at the table. "Mia, my workaholic brother Alexander." Alex's prepared, polite smile froze as he looked at her. Mia Laurent was not what he expected from one of Kevin's setups. She wasn't draped in designer labels or wearing the practiced smile of someone who had researched his net worth. Instead, she wore a simple blue dress, her dark hair falling in soft waves around a face that was striking without being conventionally imperfect. Her eyes, a warm amber, assessed him with equal curiosity. "The infamous Alexander Reynolds," she said, her voice carrying a slight accent he couldn't place. "Kevin has told me absolutely nothing about you except that you're disgustingly rich and desperately in need of a social life." Kevin choked on his drink. "I didn't say—" "Yes, you did," Mia countered, her eyes twinkling, word for word. Alex found himself laughing genuinely for the first time in weeks. Well, he's not wrong on either count. He slid into the booth across from her. "So how do you know my tactless brother?" "Mia's the new director at the Carter Foundation," Kevin explained. "We met at a fundraiser last month." Alex raised an eyebrow. The Carter Foundation was one of the most respected philanthropic organizations in the country, focusing on educational initiatives for underprivileged communities, a cause he'd quietly supported for years. "Really?" Alex said. His interest piqued. "I've worked with Carter on several projects. How are you finding New York?" "Overwhelming," Mia admitted. "I moved from Boston just 3 months ago. The pace here is," she gestured vaguely, "relentless." It grows on you, Alex assured her, or it drives you completely insane. There's really no middle ground. Dinner progressed with surprising ease. Mia was intelligent, passionate about her work, and refreshingly direct. She'd grown up in Montreal before moving to the States for college, explaining the accent he'd detected. Unlike most people he met in business or social settings, she didn't seem impressed by his accomplishments or wealth. In fact, she challenged several of his views on corporate philanthropy, arguing that sustainable change required more than just writing checks. Kevin, always skilled at creating connections, then tactfully withdrawing, excused himself early with a transparently flimsy excuse about an early meeting. Left alone, Alex expected awkwardness to descend, but it never came. Their conversation flowed from education reform to favorite books, from travel experiences to embarrassing childhood stories. 3 hours passed before either of them checked the time. "I should go," Mia said finally, looking genuinely reluctant. "I have a presentation tomorrow morning." Outside, as they waited for the valet to bring their cars, Alex felt an unfamiliar nervousness. "I'd like to see you again," he said simply. Mia studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "Would you? Or is this just what people say at the end of a decent evening?" "I never say things I don't mean," Alex replied. "It wastes time, and time is the one thing my money can't buy more of." A slow smile spread across her face. "Thursday, I'm free for lunch." As he watched her drive away, Alex realized he was smiling too, something that was becoming a rare occurrence in his carefully controlled life. There was something about Mia Laurent that intrigued him, a genuineness that stood out in a world where nearly everyone wanted something from him. His phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. "You're welcome. Don't screw it up." Chapter 3. Whirlwind. Spring blossomed into summer, and with it, Alex and Mia's relationship deepened with surprising speed. Lunch dates turned into dinner dates, weekend getaways, and nights spent talking until dawn about everything and nothing. For the first time in years, Alex adjusted his schedule to make time for someone else. They were having dinner at his penthouse when Mia first told him about her childhood. Growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, she'd witnessed firsthand the difference that educational opportunities could make. A scholarship had changed her life trajectory, leading her from a struggling neighborhood in Montreal to Harvard, and eventually to her role at the Carter Foundation. "That's why I do what I do," she explained, curled up beside him on the terrace overlooking Central Park. "I know what it means to be given a chance when the odds are stacked against you." Alex listened, mesmerized by her passion. "You're extraordinary, you know that?" She laughed softly. "Says the man who built a tech empire before he was 35. "That's different. I just saw opportunities and took them. And I see children who deserve opportunities," she countered. "We're not so different, Alex." By August, Mia had gradually begun leaving things at his apartment: a toothbrush, clothes, books on his shelves. They hadn't formally discussed moving in together, but the natural progression felt right to both of them. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when their relationship took an unexpected turn. Alex had an early board meeting, but Mia had stayed over the night before. He was about to leave when she emerged from the bathroom, her face pale. "Alex," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I think we need to talk." The seriousness in her tone made him pause. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" She took a deep breath. "I'm late, almost 3 weeks now, and I've been feeling sick in the mornings." Alex's mind raced to process what she was saying. "You mean—" "I haven't taken a test yet," she said quickly. "I wanted to tell you first. I know this isn't what either of us planned, and it's so soon, but let's find out for sure," he said, his voice steady despite the thundering of his heart. "We'll face it together, whatever the result." The pregnancy test came back positive. 2 more tests confirmed it. As the initial shock wore off, Alex found himself filled with an unexpected joy. At 42, he'd assumed the opportunity for fatherhood might have passed him by, especially given his workaholic tendencies. But with Mia, everything seemed possible. "Are you happy?" he asked her cautiously, as they sat together on the edge of his bed, the positive test still in her hand. She looked up at him, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm terrified," she admitted, "but yes, I'm happy. Are you?" In answer, he pulled her into his arms. "I never thought I'd get this chance," he whispered against her hair. "A family of my own." 2 weeks later, Alex proposed on a moonlit boat ride around Manhattan. The ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds, had belonged to his grandmother. Mia cried when he slipped it onto her finger, the city lights reflecting off the water around them. "We'll make it official before the baby comes," he promised. "Whatever kind of wedding you want." She kissed him deeply. "Nothing too elaborate. Just us, our families, close friends." "Anything you want," he agreed, his hand gently resting on her still flat stomach. "Everything is going to change now, isn't it?" "In all the best ways," she assured him. As summer faded into fall, Alex found himself happier than he'd ever been. The future stretched before them, bright with promise and new beginnings. Chapter 4. Merging lives. The announcement of their engagement and Mia's pregnancy set off a whirlwind of activity. Alex's mother, Eleanor, was ecstatic, having long given up hope that her workaholic son would settle down. Kevin teased him relentlessly about being domesticated, but Alex could see the genuine happiness in his brother's eyes. Planning a wedding in 3 months while integrating their lives proved challenging. Mia moved into Alex's penthouse, her modest collection of belongings looking somewhat out of place among his minimalist, expensive furnishings. "We should redecorate," Alex suggested one evening, noticing how she carefully positioned her well-worn books on his pristine shelves. "Make this place ours, not just mine." Mia hesitated. "Are you sure? Everything here is so..." She gestured to the custom furniture and artwork. "Impersonal?" he finished for her. "That's exactly why it needs your touch." Together, they began transforming the penthouse. Alex, who had previously delegated all interior design to professionals, found unexpected pleasure in selecting items with Mia, debating color schemes, and creating a space that reflected both of them. The spare bedroom adjacent to the master suite was designated as the nursery. Though it was early in the pregnancy, Mia barely showing at 12 weeks, they couldn't resist beginning preparations. "Do you want to know if it's a boy or girl?" Alex asked as they stood in the empty room, envisioning its transformation. Mia leaned back against him, his arms circling her waist. "I'd like it to be a surprise. Is that okay?" "Perfect," he agreed, resting his chin on top of her head. "Boy or girl, this child is going to be extraordinary." As their personal lives merged, so too did their professional worlds. Alex introduced Mia to his executive team and business associates, proud to have her by his side. Her intelligence and genuine passion for social change impressed everyone she met. In turn, Mia brought Alex deeper into her work at the Carter Foundation. He began attending fundraisers and events, seeing firsthand the impact of the programs she championed. His perspective on corporate philanthropy shifted from obligatory charitable giving to strategic investment in communities. At 16 weeks, they visited Dr. Samantha Chen, a top obstetrician recommended by Alex's family doctor. "Everything looks healthy," Dr. Chen assured them after the examination. "Would you like to hear the heartbeat today?" Moments later, the strong, rapid rhythm filled the room. Alex felt tears spring to his eyes, unexpected emotion overwhelming him. Mia squeezed his hand tightly, her own eyes glistening. "That's our baby," she whispered. Dr. Chen smiled at their reaction. "Would You like a printout of the ultrasound? The grainy black and white image became Alex's most treasured possession. He kept a copy in his wallet, another on his desk, finding himself staring at it during long meetings, marveling at the tiny life they had created. Wedding planning continued amidst their busy schedules. They settled on a December ceremony, intimate, by society standards, but still elegant, at a historic mansion overlooking the Hudson River. Mia chose a dress that elegantly accommodated her growing bump, and Alex found himself counting down the days until she would officially become his wife. "Have you thought about names?" he asked one night as they lay in bed, his hand resting protectively over her belly. "A few," she admitted. "If it's a girl, I've always loved the name Sophia." "Sophia Reynolds," Alex tested the name. "It's beautiful." "And for a boy," Alex thought for a moment. "What about James, after my father?" Mia's expression softened. "I think that's perfect." As fall progressed, their excitement grew. The wedding invitations were sent, the nursery plans finalized, and their lives became increasingly intertwined. Despite the compressed timeline and the pressure of preparing for both a wedding and a baby, Alex had never felt more certain about anything. What he didn't know, couldn't have known, was that their carefully constructed future was built on shifting sands, and the tide was about to turn. Chapter 5. Emma. 2 months before the wedding, Kevin insisted on hosting a family dinner to celebrate the engagement properly. "Just immediate family," he promised, though his definition of immediate stretched to include several cousins, aunts, and uncles from both sides. Alex was hesitant. "Mia's been tired lately. The pregnancy is taking a lot out of her." "It's important." "Alex," Kevin persisted, "everyone wants to meet her, especially since the wedding will be smaller." Mia overheard their conversation. "I think it's a lovely idea," she said, joining them in the living room. "I'd like to meet the extended Reynolds clan before I officially become one of you." Kevin's townhouse was transformed for the occasion, filled with flowers and the buzz of conversation when Alex and Mia arrived. Alex kept a protective arm around Mia as he introduced her to relatives, many of whom he only saw at holidays and family gatherings. "There's the father-to-be," called Uncle Robert, clapping Alex on the shoulder. "Never thought I'd see the day. You've been married to that company of yours for so long." "Things change," Alex replied with a smile. "Mia, this is my Uncle Robert and his wife Claudia." As the evening progressed, Alex noticed Mia charming everyone she met, effortlessly memorizing names and relationships, asking thoughtful questions about family history and traditions. His mother watched approvingly from across the room, giving him a subtle thumbs up when their eyes met. "She's a keeper," Eleanor told him later as they stood by the drinks table. "I haven't seen you this happy in years." "I've never been this happy," Alex admitted. "I didn't think it was possible to feel this way about someone." His mother patted his cheek affectionately. "That's how it should be, darling. That's how your father and I felt." A commotion at the front door announced the arrival of Alex's cousin, Patricia, and her husband David, apologizing for their lateness. Behind them trailed their daughter Emma, a solemn-faced 9-year-old with pigtails and glasses too large for her face. "Sorry we're late," Patricia explained, kissing Alex's cheek. "Emma's piano recital ran over." "No problem," Alex assured her. "Mia's just over there talking to Aunt Helen. Come meet her." Emma hung back as the adults exchanged greetings and congratulations. Alex had always had a soft spot for his young cousin, who reminded him of himself at that age. Observant, quiet, more comfortable with books than people. He crouched down to her level. "Hey, Emma, how was the recital?" "I messed up the middle part of Fur-Elise," she said solemnly, "but Mom said no one noticed." "I'm sure you were wonderful," he assured her. "Want to meet my fiancée? She's going to have a baby, so you'll have a little cousin to boss around soon." Emma considered this information carefully before nodding. Alex led her over to where Mia was chatting with Patricia and David. "And this is Emma," Alex introduced, "piano virtuoso and the smartest 9-year-old I know." Mia smiled warmly, extending her hand to the little girl. "It's very nice to meet you, Emma. Your cousin Alex has told me a lot about you." Emma shook her hand politely but remained silent, her eyes taking in every detail of Mia with the unfiltered scrutiny that only children possess. "Emma's shy with new people," Patricia explained apologetically. "That's perfectly okay," Mia assured her. "I was the same way as a child." Dinner was served buffet style, with guests scattered throughout the main floor of Kevin's townhouse. Alex lost track of Mia for a while as he caught up with relatives he rarely saw. When he finally found her, she was sitting in a quiet corner of the living room, looking tired but happy. "How are you holding up?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Not too overwhelming?" "Your family is wonderful," she assured him. "A bit loud, but wonderful. We can leave soon if you're tired." "No rush," she said, resting her head on his shoulder. "This is nice, seeing you with your family. You're different with them." "Different good or different bad?" "Different good," she confirmed. "More relaxed, less CEO, more just Alex." The evening began winding down around 10. As guests started leaving, Alex noticed Emma sitting alone on the window seat in Kevin's study, a book open on her lap, but her gaze fixed out the window. "Saying goodbye to everyone?" he asked, joining her. She shook her head, not looking at him. "Just thinking." "Penny for your thoughts?" Emma finally turned to face him, her expression serious behind her glasses. "Is she having a baby for real?" The question caught Alex off guard. "Mia, yes, of course. You'll have a new little cousin in about 5 months. Emma frowned slightly, closing her book. "But there's no bump. My teacher, Mrs. Wilson, had a baby and she had a big bump way before she left." Alex smiled at her reasoning. "Everyone's different, Emma. Mia's just not showing much yet." The little girl considered this answer, clearly unconvinced. "I saw her in the bathroom," she said finally. "She was putting something under her dress here." She pointed to her own stomach. "Then she looked different when she came out." A cold feeling settled in Alex's chest. "What do you mean, putting something under her dress?" "Like a pillow, but smaller and flat," Emma explained matter-of-factly. "She didn't see me. I was washing my hands very quietly." "Thanks. Always good to see you too." Kevin pushed one of the beers toward him. "Cut the crap. What's going on? Is it wedding jitters?" Alex took a long drink before answering. "Do you remember Emma at your dinner party? Patricia's kid? The serious one with the glasses. What about her?" Alex repeated what Emma had told him, then summarized Malcolm's findings, watching Kevin's expression shift from confusion to concern. "Jesus, Alex," Kevin said when he finished. "That's a lot." "Tell me I'm crazy," Alex said, rubbing his temples. "Tell me I'm overthinking this." Kevin was silent for a long moment. "Have you talked to Mia about any of this? How exactly do you suggest I start that conversation?" "Hey, honey, my 9-year-old cousin thinks you're faking your pregnancy. And by the way, I hired a private investigator who thinks you might have a false identity." "Duh, when you put it that way," Kevin grimaced. "But you have to talk to her, Alex. Relationships don't work without trust, and right now, you clearly don't trust her." "I want to," Alex said quietly. "God, I want to. But the inconsistencies keep piling up. Then address them directly before this gets any more complicated." Alex nodded slowly. "You're right. I'll talk to her tonight when she gets home." But Mia didn't come home that night. Around midnight, she texted that she was staying at a hotel near the venue where her board meeting had run extremely late. It was a reasonable explanation, but Alex found himself staring at the ceiling until dawn, imagining far less innocent scenarios. The next morning, she returned looking tired but happy. Sorry about last night, she said, kissing him quickly. The strategic planning session went until nearly 1 a.m. and I was exhausted. You could have called, Alex said, trying to keep his tone neutral. I was worried. I did text, she pointed out, pouring herself a cup of coffee, and it's not like you've never stayed out all night for work. The implied comparison stung, because it was true. How many times had he crashed in his office or at a hotel near a late meeting? Still, something felt off about her explanation. Mia, he began carefully, we need to talk. She glanced at her watch. Can it wait? I have a donor meeting in 40 minutes and I still need to shower and change. It's important. She must have heard something in his voice because she set down her coffee cup and turned to face him fully. What's wrong? I've noticed some inconsistencies lately, he said, choosing his words with care. Things that don't quite add up. Her expression remained perfectly neutral. What things? Mysterious phone calls, texts about arrangements and running out of time, gaps in your history that don't make sense. She went very still. You've been checking up on me? I've been trying to understand, Alex corrected, though the distinction felt meaningless. And then there's what Emma said. Emma? Kevin's niece? What does she have to do with anything? Alex took a deep breath. She saw you in the bathroom at the dinner party. She said you were putting something under your dress, something that made you look pregnant when you weren't. Mia's face paled, then flushed with anger. You're questioning whether I'm pregnant based on something a child said. Are you serious? Right now? Is it true? Alex pressed. Because I also know about the fertility clinic in Boston, the one you've been paying for years. You've been investigating me. Her voice rose in disbelief. Going through my financial records. Are you pregnant, Mia? Alex asked directly, his heart pounding. Yes or no? This is insane, she said, shaking her head. We've heard the heartbeat together. You've seen the ultrasound. That's not an answer. Mia stared at him, tears welling in her eyes. I can't believe you're doing this. After everything we've shared. Just tell me the truth, Alex pleaded. Whatever it is, we can work through it together. She grabbed her purse from the counter. I need some air. We'll talk about this later, when you're thinking rationally again. Mia, please. But she was already walking toward the door, her back straight, shoulders tense. I have a meeting, she said over her shoulder. Don't wait up. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that somehow felt more final than a slam would have. Chapter 8. The Test. Malcolm's call came just after noon. I have the medical records, he said without preamble, and you need to see this. They met at a quiet coffee shop in Midtown, far from both Horizon's offices and the Carter Foundation. Malcolm slid a folder across the table, his expression grave. The Boston clinic specializes in fertility treatments, as we suspected, he explained in a low voice, but they also provide a more unique service. Alex opened the folder to find copies of medical forms, payment records, and what appeared to be a contract. As he read, his blood ran cold. A prosthetic pregnancy program? He read aloud, barely above a whisper. Malcolm nodded. For women who, for various reasons, want to appear pregnant without actually being pregnant. It's all custom-made, silicone bellies that expand gradually, fake ultrasound images, even recorded heartbeats. This can't be real, Alex said, though the evidence before him was undeniable. Why would anyone do this? Various reasons. Some women have psychological issues. Others are trying to secure financial advantages, like, say, marrying a wealthy man who wants children. Alex felt physically ill. The forms showed payments from Mia Laurent spanning 3 years, with a significant increase in activity beginning shortly before they met. The most recent payment had been processed just 2 weeks ago. There's more, Malcolm said quietly. The woman you know as Mia Laurent, Her real name is Sophie Durand. She changed her identity 6 years ago after a series of questionable financial situations in Quebec. Questionable how? She was investigated for fraud, specifically for establishing romantic relationships with wealthy men and then disappearing with substantial amounts of money. Nothing was ever proven conclusively, but the pattern was clear enough that she apparently decided to start fresh with a new identity. Alex stared at the documents, his vision blurring. Everything, their entire relationship, had been built on lies. The woman he'd fallen in love with, the mother of his supposed child, didn't even exist. "I'm sorry," Malcolm said, genuine sympathy in his voice. "I know this isn't what you wanted to hear." Alex closed the folder with a trembling hand. "What would you do if you were me?" Malcolm considered the question carefully. "I'd get definitive proof, something she can't deny or explain away." "Like what?" "A pregnancy test, one that she can't manipulate or fake." The idea was so simple, so obvious, that Alex almost laughed. "A test? Of course." "Not a home test," Malcolm cautioned. "Those can be tampered with. You need something administered and verified by a medical professional, with you present." Alex nodded slowly, his shock giving way to a cold, clear determination. "I know exactly what to do." That evening, he waited for Mia to return home. She arrived late again, looking guarded as she entered the apartment. "We need to talk," she said, setting down her bag. "About yesterday morning." "Yes, we do," Alex agreed, his voice calmer than he felt. "I owe you an apology." Surprise flickered across her face. "You do? I shouldn't have ambushed you like that. It wasn't fair." She studied him cautiously. "No, it wasn't. I've been stressed about work, about the wedding, everything happening so fast. I let my imagination run away with me." Mia's posture relaxed slightly. "I understand. It's a lot of change all at once." "But I have a proposition," Alex continued. "Something to put all my ridiculous doubts to rest once and for all." "What kind of proposition?" "Dr. Chen called today. There was a cancellation, and she can fit us in tomorrow morning for an ultrasound. I thought we could go together, see our baby, maybe even find out if it's a boy or girl. Would you want that?" The flash of panic in Mia's eyes was brief, but unmistakable before her expression smoothed into a smile. "That sounds wonderful, but I can't tomorrow. I have meetings all morning." "I already checked with your assistant," Alex countered smoothly. "She said your calendar is clear until 2 p.m. Mia's smile faltered. "You checked with my assistant?" "I wanted to surprise you," Alex explained. "So what do you say? 10 a.m. tomorrow, with Dr. Chen?" Trapped, Mia hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Of course, I'd love that." "Great," Alex said, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. "It's a date." That night, they moved around each other with careful politeness, both pretending that everything was normal while acutely aware of the growing chasm between them. Alex watched Mia covertly, wondering how he could have been so completely deceived. The woman who had captivated him with her apparent authenticity was the most skillful liar he'd ever encountered. In bed, they lay with a careful distance between them, both feigning sleep while their minds raced. Alex found himself replaying every moment of their relationship, searching for clues he should have seen, the careful way she'd avoided discussing certain aspects of her past, the convenient explanation for why her mother couldn't attend their wedding, a sick relative in Europe requiring her care, the meetings that ran suspiciously late whenever he raised difficult questions. Morning came after a sleepless night. They dressed in silence, the tension between them palpable. In the car on the way to Dr. Chen's office, Mia stared out the window, her hands fidgeting with her purse strap. "Nervous?" Alex asked lightly. "A little," she admitted. "It's always strange seeing what's happening inside your own body." The lie hung in the air between them. Alex wondered if she would maintain the charade until the very last moment, or if she would finally break and tell him the truth. Dr. Chen greeted them warmly in her office. "The Reynolds family. Wonderful to see you both again. How are you feeling, Mia?" "Good," Mia said with a tight smile, "just a little tired." "Very normal at this stage," Dr. Chen assured her. "Let's have a look at your little one, shall we? I'll need you to change into a gown in the examination room. Alex, you can wait here until we're ready for you." As soon as Mia was out of earshot, Alex leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, I need to ask you something unusual." The doctor's eyebrows rose slightly. "Yes? I need you to perform a blood test today, along with the ultrasound, to confirm the pregnancy." Dr. Chen frowned. "Mr. Reynolds, we've already confirmed the pregnancy. I don't understand." "Please," Alex interrupted. "It's important. I can't explain right now, but I need to be absolutely certain." Something in his expression must have conveyed his desperation, because after a moment, Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "I'll order the test. But Mr. Reynolds, if you have concerns about your fiancée's pregnancy, shouldn't you be discussing them with her?" "I've tried," Alex said grimly. "Now I need facts." Dr. Chen looked troubled but didn't argue further. "I'll make the arrangements. Please wait here." Alex sat alone in the office, his heart pounding. In a few minutes, he would know for certain whether the future he'd been planning was real or an elaborate deception. Part of him still hoped desperately for some innocent explanation, a misunderstanding, a mistake in Malcolm's investigation, anything but the brutal truth the evidence suggested. 10 minutes later, a nurse appeared. "Mr. Reynolds, Dr. Chen asked me to bring you to examination room 3. The walk down the hallway felt like the longest of Alex's life. Each step brought him closer to a truth he both needed and dreaded. Dr. Chen was waiting outside the room, her expression professionally neutral. "Mr. Reynolds, before we proceed, I want to be clear that what you're asking is highly unusual. Patient confidentiality." "I understand," Alex cut in. "But given the circumstances, yes, well." She cleared her throat. "I've explained to Mia that we'd like to do both the ultrasound and a quick blood test today as part of our standard protocol for pregnancies at this stage." "And?" A flicker of unease crossed the doctor's face. "She's resistant to the blood test, quite adamantly so, in fact." Alex felt a grim satisfaction that did nothing to ease the pain building in his chest. "I'd like to speak with her." "Doctor," Chen hesitated. "Mr. Reynolds, whatever is happening between you two, please," Alex said quietly. "I need to do this." After a moment, she nodded and stepped aside. Alex took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Mia sat on the examination table in a hospital gown, her face pale and drawn. When she saw him, her expression hardened. "You set this up," she said flatly. "The blood test, this whole appointment." Alex closed the door behind him. "Tell me the truth, Mia, or Sophie, whatever your real name is." She flinched at the name Sophie, but didn't deny it. "You had me investigated." "Are you pregnant?" he demanded, cutting to the heart of the matter. For a long moment they stared at each other across the small room, he desperate for truth, she calculating her options. Finally, her shoulders slumped. In defeat. "No," she whispered. "I'm not pregnant. I never was." Chapter 9. Revelations. The admission hung in the air between them, final and irrevocable. Alex had expected to feel vindicated. Instead, he felt hollow. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "Was any of it real?" Mia, Sophie, looked down at her hands. "Not the pregnancy, but us. What I feel for you. That's real, Alex." He laughed bitterly. "How can you possibly expect me to believe anything you say now?" "I didn't plan this," she insisted. Not all of it. Yes, I researched you before Kevin introduced us. Yes, I knew you were wealthy and looking to settle down, but I didn't expect to actually fall in love with you. So what was the plan? Fake. A pregnancy, marry me, then what? Fake a miscarriage after the wedding. She winced. Something like that. And then stay married to me, living off my money while pretending to grieve our lost child. The scenario was so cruel, so calculated, that Alex could barely comprehend it. It wasn't just about the money, she said quietly. You have no idea what it's like to have nothing, Alex. To grow up knowing you'll never have security, never have safety. So you became a con artist, targeting men like me. She raised her chin defiantly. I became a survivor, and I got good at it. The Carter Foundation, is that even real? That part is true, she admitted. I really do work there. The credentials are false, but the job is real. I'm good at what I do, helping children from backgrounds like mine get opportunities. Alex shook his head in disbelief. The irony is staggering. You help disadvantaged children while systematically deceiving people who trust you. We all have contradictions, she said softly. Even you, with your carefully cultivated image of corporate responsibility while your company exploits tax loopholes and offshore accounts. The comparison stung, but Alex refused to be deflected. Don't try to equate legal tax strategies with what you've done. You were going to bring a child into this, a child that never existed. I was desperate, she admitted. When we met, I was nearly broke again. My last relationship had ended badly. I saw an opportunity with you, and I took it. And pregnancy. The fake bump Emma saw you adjusting? Sophie sighed. A silicone prosthetic, very expensive, very realistic. The clinic in Boston specializes in them. And the heartbeat we heard? The ultrasound images? Recordings, stock images modified digitally. Dr. Chen isn't really your family doctor. She's an actress I hired. This isn't even a real medical office. Alex felt the room spin around him. The deception was even more elaborate than he'd imagined. My God, he whispered. You thought of everything. I had to, she said simply. My survival depended on it. A knock at the door interrupted. Them. A woman Alex had never seen before, not Dr. Chen, poked her head in. Everything okay in here? The real appointment is in 20 minutes. Sophie nodded. We're fine, Jess. Just finishing up. Jess, the name from the text message, another accomplice in this elaborate scheme. I'll wait in the car, Jess said, disappearing as quickly as she'd appeared. Alex stared at Sophie, this stranger wearing the face of the woman he'd loved. Who are you? Really? She stood up, shedding the hospital gown to reveal her regular clothes underneath. From a bag beside the examination table, she removed what looked like a flesh-colored cushion, the fake pregnancy bump. My real name is Sophie Durand, she said, her voice steadier now. I grew up in a suburb of Montreal with a mother who worked as a waitress and a father who left when I was 3. We were always one missed paycheck away from homelessness. I learned early that beauty and intelligence were my only assets, and I learned to use them. By manipulating men. By surviving, she corrected. I've been Mia Laurent for 6 years. Now, new identity, new start. The Harvard degree is fake, but the work I do at Carter is real. I've helped secure millions in funding for educational programs. While planning to steal millions from me, Alex pointed out. Sophie shook her head. Not steal. I would have been your wife. Shared your life. Built on lies. Everyone lies, Alex, she said wearily, about different things to different degrees. You lie to yourself about what your money means, about the power it gives you over others. This is not the same thing, Alex exploded. I was going to marry you, to raise a child with you. I know, she said, and for the first time, genuine remorse crossed her face. And I'm sorry, truly. I didn't expect to actually care about you, to want that life together. That part wasn't a lie. Alex turned away, unable to look at her any longer. What happens now? I disappear, Sophie said simply. Mia Laurent ceases to exist, just as she was created. I move on, start over somewhere else. And find another wealthy man to target? She shouldered her bag. Maybe, or maybe I'll try something different this time. Meeting you, it changed things for me. I should call the police, Alex said, though they both knew he wouldn't. The scandal, the publicity, it would be a nightmare for his company. His family, but you won't, Sophie confirmed, reading his thoughts. Too messy, too public. Better to let me vanish quietly. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I did love you, Alex. More than I've ever loved anyone. In another life, maybe we could have been happy. Don't, Alex said, harshly. Don't pretend this was some star-crossed romance. You calculated every move, every moment. Until I didn't, she said softly. Until it became real for me too. That's the tragedy of it all. She slipped the engagement ring from her finger and placed it on the examination table. Goodbye, Alex. He didn't watch her leave. Couldn't bear to see Mia's face, the face he'd loved, had planned a future with, knowing it belonged to Sophie Durand, con artist and liar. Instead, he sat heavily on the examination table, the diamond ring, glittering accusingly beside him, wondering how he could have been so completely, catastrophically deceived. Chapter 10. Aftermath. The news broke 3 days later, though not in the way Alex had feared. The headline in the New York Post was typically sensational. Carter Foundation director resigns amid fraud allegations. The article beneath was carefully vague, references to discrepancies in credentials and questions about identity, without explicitly connecting Sophie Mia to Alex or mentioning the fake pregnancy. Malcolm's contacts had managed to contain the worst of it, protecting Horizon Technologies and the Reynolds family from public scandal. Kevin found Alex in his penthouse, surrounded by half-empty takeout containers and whiskey bottles. The nursery door was firmly closed. Alex couldn't bear to look at it. Jesus, Alex, Kevin said, taking in the scene. You look worse than I expected. Thanks, Alex replied dryly, not bothering to get up from the couch. Always good to meet expectations. Kevin began collecting bottles and containers, clearing a space for himself. Mom's worried sick. You haven't returned her calls. I'll call her tomorrow. That's what you said 3 days ago. Kevin sat across from him, leaning forward. Talk to me, Alex. What happened? Alex took a long drink of whiskey. You were right. Emma was right. It was all fake. The pregnancy, her identity, everything. Christ, Kevin breathed. I'm sorry. You know what the worst part is? Alex said, staring into his glass. Not the humiliation, not even the betrayal. It's that I still miss her. The her I thought I knew. Because your feelings were real, Kevin said gently. Just because she lied doesn't invalidate what you felt. Alex shook his head. I built a future around a fantasy. I was planning to marry a woman who doesn't even exist. So what now? Now? Alex laughed without humor. Now I go back to being what I was before, Alexander Reynolds, CEO, married to his company. At least corporations are honest about their intentions. Kevin watched him with concern. You can't just shut down Alex. That's not healthy. Neither is trusting someone who's systematically deceiving you. But I managed that pretty well. This isn't your fault, Kevin insisted. You couldn't have known. Alex set down his glass with deliberate care. Couldn't I? There were signs, inconsistencies, evasions. I ignored them because I wanted so badly to believe that someone finally loved me for me, not my money or position. And someday, someone will, Kevin said firmly. Someone real. I'm done, Alex said flatly. No more relationships, no more vulnerability. I let my guard down once. I won't make that mistake again. Kevin started to argue, but seemed to think better of it. Instead, he stood up. Come on, shower, clean clothes. We're getting out of here. I'm not in the mood for... I don't care what you're in the mood for, Kevin interrupted. You're not sitting here marinating in whiskey and self-pity for another night. Move it. There had always been something about Kevin's particular brand of brotherly bullying that Alex couldn't resist. Grudgingly, he hauled himself to the shower, letting the hot water sluice away days of stubble and regret. Dressed in fresh clothes, he felt marginally more human. Kevin drove them to the Hudson River waterfront, parking near a small marina. "What are we doing here?" Alex asked as they walked along the docks. "Perspective," Kevin replied cryptically, stopping beside a sleek sailboat. "Remember this?" Alex stared at the vessel. "Dad's boat?" "I bought it when the estate sold it," Kevin explained. "Had it restored. Come aboard." Once on deck, Kevin handed Alex a life jacket and began preparing to cast off. "We're going sailing? Now?" "Best time," Kevin said, checking lines and sails with practiced ease. "Dad always said the river clears your head." Despite his protests, Alex found himself helping with the preparations, muscle memory taking over from countless childhood sailing trips. Soon they were moving smoothly out onto the Hudson, the Manhattan skyline receding behind them. The physical work of managing the boat left little room for brooding. The wind, the water, the technical challenges of sailing, all demanded Alex's full attention. For the first time in days, his mind wasn't replaying every moment with Sophie Mia, searching for clues he'd missed. As they reached the middle of the river, Kevin cut the engine, letting them drift with the current. The sunset painted the water in shades of gold and crimson, the city lights beginning to twinkle on shore. "Dad brought me here after my divorce," Kevin said, breaking the comfortable silence. "I was in bad shape, worse than you, if you can believe it." Alex raised an eyebrow. Kevin rarely spoke about his brief, disastrous marriage 5 years earlier. "He told me something I didn't appreciate. At the time," Kevin continued, "he said that every broken relationship is a teacher. The lesson isn't never love again, it's love better next time." "Sounds like Dad," Alex said softly. "I was angry, like you are now. Felt like a fool. Swore I'd never trust anyone again." Kevin smiled ruefully. "Know what Dad did? Jumped. Overboard. Just dove right into the Hudson." "What?" Alex laughed in spite of himself. "Why? To prove a point. He shouted up at me, 'Are you going to stop trusting water because it can drown you? Stop trusting boats because they can sink?' Then he climbed back aboard and said, 'Don't confuse a bad sailor with a bad sea.'" Alex considered this. So Sophie is the bad sailor in this metaphor. Exactly. Don't blame the whole ocean of potential relationships because one person navigated dishonestly. They sat in silence as the boat drifted gently, the city lights growing brighter as darkness fell. "I'm not saying you need to jump back into dating," Kevin clarified. "Take all the time you need. But don't lock yourself away forever because of this." Alex nodded slowly. "I'll try. No promises, but I'll try." "That's all I'm asking," Kevin said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Now want to take the helm for a bit? You're still a better sailor than me." For the first time in days, Alex felt a small measure of peace as he took control of the boat, adjusting their course to catch the evening breeze. The hurt wasn't gone, might never fully disappear. But here on the water, with the city's demands far away, he could at least breathe again. They returned to the marina after dark, the sail having accomplished exactly what Kevin had intended, giving Alex a few hours of escape from his thoughts. "Thank you," Alex said simply as they walked back to the car. "I needed that." "Anytime," Kevin replied. "And Alex, don't disappear into work again. That's not healing, it's hiding." "I hear you," Alex assured him, "but I do need to get back to the office tomorrow." "Can't hide from life forever." Fair enough. Just promise you'll answer Mom's calls. She's this close to showing up at your penthouse with casseroles and unsolicited advice. Alex smiled slightly. I promise. The next morning, Alex returned to Horizon Technologies for the first time since the confrontation with Sophie. His employees gave him a wide berth, clearly sensing something had happened, but too professional to ask directly. Diane had rescheduled his most pressing meetings and organized his calendar to ease him back in gradually. Thank you for handling everything, he told her sincerely. Of course, Mr. Reynolds, she replied, and if I may say so, it's good to have you back. Alex settled behind his desk, taking comfort in the familiar surroundings. This at least was real. The company he'd built, the work he'd dedicated his life to. It might not warm his bed at night or give him the family he'd briefly thought he would have, but it was solid, dependable. As he worked through the backlog of emails and reports, Alex found his mind occasionally drifting to Sophie, Mia. Where was she now? Creating a new identity? Finding a new target? Or had their relationship truly affected her as she claimed? He would probably never know. Around noon, a meeting reminder popped up on his screen. A quarterly review with the Horizon Foundation, the company's philanthropic arm. Alex had almost forgotten about it. For a moment, he considered rescheduling, given the uncomfortable associations with philanthropy and Mia's work at the Carter Foundation. But avoiding the topic wouldn't help him move forward. Mr. Reynolds, the foundation director, greeted him as he entered the conference room. We're prepared to review the current projects and discuss next quarter's initiatives. Alex nodded, taking a seat. Let's focus particularly on educational programs today. I want to make sure our investments there are having real impact. As the presentation progressed, Alex found himself more engaged than he'd expected. The foundation's work was substantial. Scholarship programs, technology grants for underfunded schools, teacher training initiatives, real help for real people, carefully monitored and evaluated for effectiveness. What about personal mentorship programs? Alex asked suddenly, interrupting a budget discussion. Are we doing anything in that area? The director looked surprised. Not currently, sir. We've discussed it, but implementation has been challenging. I want to explore that, Alex said, decisively. Programs that connect successful professionals with young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Not just money, but time and guidance. That would be a significant new direction, the director said carefully. Sometimes new directions are exactly what we need, Alex replied. Let's develop a proposal. I'd like to be personally involved in the program design. As the meeting concluded, Alex felt something he hadn't expected, a small spark of purpose. Sophie's deception had been inexcusable, but her background, assuming even that much was true, offered a glimpse into why someone might choose such a path. Perhaps there was a way to help others avoid similar desperate choices. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was a way to extract something constructive from the ruins of his shattered relationship. That evening, Alex finally returned his mother's calls, enduring her concerned questions with as much patience as he could muster. Yes, he was eating. Yes, he was sleeping, mostly. No, he didn't want her to come stay with him. I'm handling it, Mom, he assured her, one day at a time. You know what they say, Eleanor replied. When God closes a door, he opens a window. Alex refrained from pointing out that he wasn't religious. I'll keep an eye out for windows, he promised instead. After hanging up, he stood at his own windows, looking out at the city sprawled below. Somewhere out there, life was continuing. For Sophie Durand, in whatever new identity she'd created, and somehow life would continue for him too. He turned away from the view and, for the first time since the confrontation, opened the door to what would have been the nursery. The sage Green walls seemed to mock him with their cheerful optimism. The delivered but never assembled crib sat in boxes against one wall. Alex took a deep breath and stepped fully into the room. "Time to let go," he said aloud to the empty space. Tomorrow he would call a contractor to repaint the walls. The crib and other baby items would be donated to a women's shelter. This room would become something else, a home office perhaps, or simply a guest room again. The future he'd planned was gone, but a different future, one he would build with clear eyes and hard-won wisdom, was still possible. Chapter 11. Unexpected Encounter. 4 months later, spring had returned to New York. Alex had thrown himself into work with renewed focus, both at Horizon Technologies and at the newly launched Reynolds Mentorship Initiative, the program he'd conceived in the aftermath of Sophie's deception. The initiative paired successful professionals with promising students from underprivileged backgrounds, providing not just financial support, but personal guidance through the challenges of education and career development. Alex had personally interviewed the first cohort of mentors, insisting on rigorous background checks and genuine commitment. "You're obsessing," Kevin told him over lunch. 3 hours of interviews for each mentor, background checks that would make the CIA envious? "I want to be certain they're genuine," Alex replied unapologetically. "These kids have been let down enough by the system. They don't need mentors with hidden agendas." Kevin studied him thoughtfully. "This is about her, isn't it?" Alex didn't pretend to misunderstand. "Partly," he admitted. "But it's also about doing something meaningful, something real." "Well, it's better than watching you brood in your penthouse," Kevin conceded. "And speaking of brooding in isolation, Mom's birthday dinner is next weekend. You're coming." "Of course I'm coming. I already sent flowers." "Flowers aren't enough, and you know it. She wants her eldest son present and preferably somewhat sociable." Alex sighed. "I'll be there, and I'll be sociable within reason." The following Saturday found Alex at his mother's Westchester home, surrounded by family and a few of Eleanor's closest friends. He made the expected rounds, answering the inevitable questions about work, deflecting gentle inquiries about his personal life with practiced ease. Emma found him hiding in the library, seeking a moment's respite from the social obligations. "Uncle Alex," she said, peering around the door. "Grandma's about to open presents." Alex smiled at his young cousin. "I'll be right there." She hesitated, then entered the room fully. "Are you still mad at me?" The question caught him off guard. "Mad at you? Why would I be mad at you?" "Because of what I said about your girlfriend," Emma explained, her voice small. "Mom said that's why you didn't get married." Alex crossed the room and crouched to her level. "Emma, listen to me. I'm not mad at you. You told the truth about something important, and that was very brave." "Really?" she asked uncertainly. "Really," he confirmed. "You helped me avoid making a big mistake. I'm grateful." Relief washed over her face. "So we're still friends?" "The best of friends," Alex assured her, offering his hand for their special handshake, a complicated sequence they'd developed years ago. Emma grinned as they completed the ritual. "Grandma really is waiting for you," she reminded him. "Then we'd better not keep her waiting," Alex said, standing. "Lead the way." The gift opening and cake cutting proceeded with all the expected fanfare. Alex found himself genuinely enjoying the family gathering, the simple pleasure of being with people who knew him, really knew him, and loved him anyway. As the party began winding down, Eleanor cornered him in the kitchen. "You're looking better," she observed. "Not quite so haunted." "Thanks, I think," Alex replied dryly. "I worry." "About you," his mother continued. "All work and no play makes Jack a very successful CEO," Alex finished for her. "I'm fine, Mom. Really." Eleanor fixed him with the penetrating stare that had intimidated him since childhood. "You're healing, which is good, but don't use What happened as an excuse to close yourself off permanently? I'm not, Alex protested. I'm just cautious now. Cautious is fine. Fortress walls with moats and guard towers is not. She patted his cheek affectionately. Just something to think about. 2 days later, Alex found himself thinking about his mother's words as he walked through Central Park. The mentorship program's first official event, a casual outdoor gathering for mentors and students to meet, was scheduled for the weekend, and he was mentally reviewing the